some of these questions. I would love to start by hearing from you first, Kelly, about just like a little brief glimpse into like what happens in the day of a bookseller. I know there's probably like a million things, but what are some?
I just put a tweet out because a surprising amount of days is spent on Twitter. No, I'm kidding. Some of the day is spent on Twitter. And I just tweeted out a thing of what it looks like to run this, my part of this thing from behind the scenes. And so you get a little bit behind the scenes on our at Fountain BK store on Twitter every day. But when I talk to people when we're actually in the store at an event, one of the things I talk about is that I love books, but what I really love is people. And my way of connecting people is my favorite way to connect people is through the written word, by sharing the written word, regardless of genre or whatever, whatever, just reading in general, if it's kids books or poetry or science fiction. The romance panel that we just got out of was fantastic. And so full of just, the whole day has been full of rock stars. I'm a little starry-eyed, actually. And that's what somebody asked me that the other day, and asked me what it's like, and the answer is the reason book selling never gets old is because it's something different every day. It's all different all day, every day. And when you're having a day that's kind of the same, well, the books are different. You know what? You can crack. It never stops. It's like your birthday. Every single day, every box that you open, it's your birthday, and there's always a new shiny, and then there's always your comfort favorites and your family. You know what I mean? The connections that you can make there to introduce someone to. We had an author on today, Simon Van Bowie, that I'm a huge fan of, that I've been with since his debut novel, and everything he does, everything he publishes, it makes my world go sparkly, and so that's what it's like being a bookseller. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's a whole lot of hours. It's a lot of paperwork, and not the good kind of paper, and it's a lot of time in front of screens. But a typical day for me is never the same. That's what a day is.
Awesome. We'd love to hear from you next, Roscoe. I know that you probably have a similar answer, that no 2 days are the same, but what might an average day in the life of a poet like yourself look like?
Well, at this point, all the days run together. I never know what day it is anymore. But yeah, I'm extremely busy. I'm a full-time teaching artist. So if I'm not doing like a workshop, then I'm a part of a festival, or I'm hosting a show, or participating in a slam, or something of that nature. And when I'm not doing any of that, I'm working on the next project. So it's never a dull moment. I'm pulled in a lot of different directions all the time. As soon as I get off of this, I have to go do something right after. So never a dull moment, never the same thing twice. And it's always new people, it's always new experiences, and that's part of the job that I love.
Awesome. Grace, you want to get the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the last year's been pretty tough. Bit of an understatement. How would you say that the pandemic made your work harder? And then on the flip side of that, how would you say it's made things easier? Oh, we have Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
I will jump in first.
You want to go first?
To answer this question if nobody ends.
Yeah, go for it.
Please.
So, as an artist, the pandemic and being kind of immersed in like the gig economy, right? So it was really, really rough starting out because I'm used to being on the road. I'm used to being at different shows, live shows all throughout the year. Even my workshops take place in like classrooms and youth centers, things of that nature. So all that came to an abrupt halt. And when I say it took a heavy toll on my mental health, like that is an understatement. I'm an extreme extrovert. I love being around people. And so for everything to like go from not happening at all, and then when it does happen, it only happens virtually. I was a mess emotionally, mentally, and then creatively. It really put pardon, it really stifled my creativity for a very long time, most of the year. I mean, honestly, up until recently, and I started working on some projects within the last couple of months. But prior to that, I just couldn't get anything out, and I just felt very stagnant. And then life changed. You know, what I mean, my home life changed. I'm here with the kids all day, and that changed the dynamic in the house. So it took a heavy toll, and really made it very difficult to push forward. What I will say is that before I wasn't, because I was so busy. And so now, like being in the house, I'm able to take a quick nap every once in a while. It was good for me to kind of be able to sit down for just a second. I still find myself to be very busy, but in a different way. And so that's the upside. I've been able to kind of just sit down, and it was much. My wife tells me it was much needed. It was long overdue. So I'm grateful for that experience, but it was very rough starting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, Kelly?
I went through some of the same things that I was talking about. I'm one of those. I'm introverted by nature, but my job requires me to be extroverted. So you'd think that this would be awesome. I get to work from home. It's going to be great. It was a disaster. It's been really tough. I think the toughest thing was worrying about being able to keep my people employed, at the shop. That was the thing I had the most concern about, is like, well, what does this look like now? What is running the bookstore? Can I keep my people in their jobs? That was my first, concern with the pandemic. We were able to work things around that. We were able to find a way to function online with the doors shut, and they're still shut until the 15th, when we start taking appointments by appointment. That making those difficult decisions, and the first week I laid everyone off, and then I was like, then the next week I brought everybody back. I was like, we're just going to figure out. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to just figure it out.
Yeah.
And we have so far. And then I got COVID. I got sick.
Great.
And back in November, right before the holidays, and my partner and I both got. We don't know where we got it. It's in the air. It's everywhere, right? And that created some additional problems for. Well, we had to just basically shut everything down for a while completely. All of our shipping, everything had to be shut down for 9 days, I think, while we made sure everybody who had been near me was checked out and all that stuff. Or I don't know, it might have been as long as 2 weeks. We were shut down for a while. And then we canceled all our events in December, which is why David Slayton was with us today. We've been trying to reschedule him ever since. And then COVID affects everyone differently. And it triggered my chronic depression. So it's something I've lived with for the last 30 years, but it absolutely unbearable, and so I'm getting better, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing that I deal with as a business owner and as a human being, and as a part of a couple unit and a cat mom and all the other stuff that, that you do. And so that's been tough. But what it has done is it put everything in perspective for me and made me realize what was important. That horrible health scare and some other things that happened this year made me realize, okay, what do I really want to focus on now? And I think the gifts of the pandemic and the gifts of depression, even to some extent, do clarify some things. They make you understand that it's okay. Some things just need to be out of your life, and some things you need more of. And then there comes the work of doing that. But and that work continues.
Yeah. Hello, Robert. We're so glad you're here.
It's nice to be here. Sorry for the technical challenge.
No worries. You're here just in time for your turn. Robert is the owner of Brandy Lane Publishers and my boss. And yeah, we would love to hear from your perspective as a publisher how the pandemic has changed your industry. What has changed? What's the same?
Well, it's been surprising. 2020 surprising year for us. I think because there were so many authors, so many writers who had more time at home to write and produce, that we saw kind of a flood of manuscripts. So we really had a surprise year. I think I can't say it was easier. It was just, the pandemic year has been different for us. Obviously, we've all been working remotely. I think more than anything, I've missed the connection of being together with people. I think we're social animals, and thinking about Skype and Zoom, it's not as intimate. You don't have that intimate connection. We've seen, I think Kelly can certainly speak to this, whether she's seen book sales grow or take a dive during the pandemic. But I think our activity is, on the book sales side has stayed pretty level. So I don't like working so much out of my house, working alone. I think it's affected me emotionally. And I think it maybe has impacted a lot of people that way who have spent a lot more time alone. I've had the benefit of working sort of side by side with my wife at home, who's also been working remotely, which has been. So I would say it's been an adventuresome year for a lot of reasons, both good and negative changes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, from each of your perspectives in the industry, now that we're finally seeing things open back up, what would you say you're most excited about? We can start with you, Kelly.
We went headfirst into online events really early. We saw an opportunity, and when you're a really small company, you can make decisions really fast. I mean, the board of directors meeting is, I look in the mirror and I'm like, hey, we're doing this today, so that's the whole story. And then you try, and then you let go what doesn't work. You try to do that. So we got into events really early, and because we were early and publishers were looking for places to put their authors and ways to promote their books that the traditional book tour usually offered, we got some bigger names and bigger opportunities that we might not have had before, and we're still learning every day. But what we also learned is who we were leaving behind. So we developed a whole new base of fans, including our super solid fans. I see some in the audience now that couldn't come to in-person events because of childcare issues, because of lack of transportation, because of disability, anxiety, mental health issues. They don't, and we gained a whole bunch of new attendees, people who would never, don't have a bookstore near them. And they decided that we are their hometown bookstore now, even though we have a wonderful, wonderful customer now in now I'm going to get the country wrong. She's somewhere in Europe and she has insomnia. And so we see her a lot in our events. And she's from Austria, that's right. And she orders ebooks from us and digital audiobooks. So we learned that we were inadvertently excluding people, and we do not want, when things return back to normal, we don't ever want to exclude them again. Yeah. So we are going to find a way to keep our events hybrid so that our book clubs, our in-person events, all of that will still be broadcast, and our family that we've made during this time will get to stay with us. That's the biggest thing I've learned.
I love that.
Yeah. How about you, Roscoe? What are you most excited about?
I'm excited to be back in buildings again. I am excited to, I'm a artist that lives on the stage. So, doing things virtually has not been the same for me. Performances haven't had that same feel. So now that I'm vaccinated, and I know that there's been a bigger push for people getting vaccinated, and people of different events and venues have found ways to kind of work around the restrictions. So I'm excited to do more in-person stuff now because I'm feeling a little safer about it. I have some projects that I'm going to be working on, a monthly showcase series, a couple of one-man shows, that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to be around people again.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. What about you, Robert? What are you most excited about?
Yeah, I can relate to Roscoe on that. I am looking forward to more I am real sort of grappling with whether I really want to come back into the office again. It's not that I have to make this long commute. I mean, it's 5 minutes, but there is a comfort level, working. But I am looking forward to actually having authors come into the office as we had before, and where you can have a face-to-face conversation. People who stop by and bring cookies, or
we love an author who brings cookies.
Drop off
it's
gifts. But I think we've all sort of grown very comfortable with remote work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I'm sort of excited about maybe looking at some sort of hybrid where we have a mix. So there is a beauty to the benefits of technology that allow us to do all the things we've been able to do, and to work at our profession and not have to drive and not have to go into the office. And so many companies, I mean, Google and Facebook and big tech companies are sending people home, and people are moving out of San Francisco to Arizona, where they can live more cheaply. So we've been able to survive and thrive to some degree. I'm just excited about looking at people eye to eye.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to people being able to see my smile. I feel so weird when I'm like bump into someone or something and I'm smiling, like, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm still like walking down the street with my mask on and smiling at people as if they can see me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to smize, you know what I mean? Like Tyra taught me.
Who is the person behiand the mask?
Doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because my depression makes my face, my resting whatever face is just kind of like there all the time. So I've had to do a lot of practicing to make the whole mask thing work for me, because it was a challenge before the mask.
Yeah.
You become very aware of what your eyes are doing. Like, my eyes look mean or happy.
I'm also worried that I've gotten too used to mouth breathing and I won't be able to take it back. So our last question for today is a fun one. We just want to know, what have you read since February 2020 that you've really enjoyed? What book, what would you recommend to everyone watching?
So all of our book loving people out there.
Robert, do you want to go first?
Okay. I'm reading a memoir by Ariana Newman. It's based called When Time Stopped.
Wow.
A memoir of my father's war and what remains. She basically traces what happened to her father and her entire family. I can't remember how many lost their lives during the Holocaust, but it was a large. It's a powerful book, and recommended by my wife Tanya, who read it first, and it's it's really stirring. I highly recommend it.
Awesome.
A lot of people don't about the Holocaust, but she's
Important.
a journalist and has a, but it's written very lyrically and beautifully, unlike so much journalistic writing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And I'm, read Hemingway. I don't know if y'all saw the PBS Ken Burns Hemingway documentary, but it was incredible. And so I'm going to be getting back into Hemingway, who I can't say I love him, love his work that much, but The Sun Also Rises. I read many, many, many years ago, his first novels.
Yeah.
Get back to that.
Do you mind reminding us what the name of that first book you recommended was?
Yeah, it's When Time Stopped.
Wow, what a powerful title.
Yeah, that's a great title. Awesome.
And in the chat, Mike recommends The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which I know Grace and I can both corroborate that.
Yeah, it's a great one.
So
you.
Oh,
no,
you. You. Oh, no, you.
Go for it, girl.
Okay, Roscoe, what about you? What's your favorite book you've read in the last 14 months?
Well, I've been helping a handful of poets finish their manuscripts. So I've been kind of looking over some books that will be some collections that will be released this year from like Angelique Palmer and Frederick Eberhardt and a few other poets. And then I've also been reading, or I just finished reading, Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, which is really good. It's a fun book. And then recently what I picked up was Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Tawwab.
I know a lot of people who could use with some boundaries guidance. I think probably a lot of us as well.
Yeah.
So I love books like that. I love books that cause me to kind of look inward a little bit and kind of find help create a better version of myself. So I'm always really attracted to books like that. I find myself doing that a lot in my poetry. And this was actually recommended by my therapist. She was like, you shut yourself too thin and you don't know how to say no to people. So
wow.
Relatable.
And
what about you, Kelly?
Well, I know we just have a minute, and but I'm a bookseller, so I get two. So How to Catch a Queen was by Alyssa Cole, who was one of the guests today. I just finished it. It is so good, really good, slow burn, and then just like in your face, flaming, all the flames. And it's an arranged marriage, royals who meet each other and don't like each other, and then guess what, they do. So because it's a that's how those work, and it's so good. Anyway, and you get a lot of African politics and things too. It's just like a little step aside. And then coming in June, I'm reading. I just finished this a couple days ago. It's coming July, 13th, and we'll be doing something with this author, Grady Hendrix. The Final Girl Support Group. At the end of every horror movie is always that one girl who's like, everybody else has died, and it's like the one girl, and she's like one arm hanging off, and then she kills the bad guy, and she's the final girl, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So whatever campground she survived, or whatever it was, whatever theme park, that she was the only one that was alive. So all these final girls are in therapy together, and then one of them gets killed, right? So somebody's going to kill all the final girls.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so gross, and it's so awesome.
What an excellent concept.
It's so much fun. And Andy's read it too. In fact, this is her copy because she grabbed it before I did. And sometimes the boss don't get you nothing. Being the boss doesn't get you nothing. But yeah, it is incredible. And so that I am reading for escape. So that's what my world is right now. And Simon Van Booey's book that's coming out, and Jane Ann Krantz, whose book I'm reading right now too. All of those are in the store.
Yeah.
That's attached to the in the expo, except for the Final Girl Support Group. But you can find that on the website somewhere. But yeah, so I'm reading for escape and a little bit for serious stuff. I'm reading Torrin's collection of poetry. Torrin Greathouse, who was here today.
Yeah.
I'm rereading that right now too. So, but yeah, no, I'm like, sex and death. So that's what I'm doing. Yes.
Awesome.
You asked.
We did.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kelly and Fountain Bookstore, for facilitating book sales for this event, facilitating the whole hop-in thing, and training all of us in how to use it. It's been a learning process, and I'm so grateful to you for everything you've done and your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not only my incredible staff and Kelly and all the participating authors, all the sponsors who helped make this happen. We couldn't do it without you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to Roscoe for facilitating the poetry stage, and for helping us make some really excellent connections in the poetry community, and for sharing with us Traumedy, which was such an excellent show. I absolutely need to watch it again when I can really focus on it and let it all wash over me, because as Grace said in your discussion, it was a lot to take in. It's one that you need to go back to for sure.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be open for another 24 hours if all those people over there in the expo paid for this thing. So, or some of it anyway, a lot of it. And so we want to show them some support. Go visit their booths if you have time. It's going to be open for 24.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So if you need to think about it a little bit and come back tomorrow with the books you want, you absolutely can. And just one more time, a special shout out to our sponsors, Libro FM, the Poe Museum, eAudio Production, and Sam Miller's. We're so grateful for your support. And to everyone who has been with us today, watching and listening and engaging, we are so grateful to you. We did this so that we could feel connected to our book loving community again, because it has been a long, hard, lonely year. And we're really looking forward to hopefully seeing everyone in person next year.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone so much. We hope you had an awesome day. I had a great time. And I plan to do a lot of book shopping tomorrow. So
yes, lots of reading to do.
Yes.
All right. Signing off. Thanks everyone. Thanks so much.
Congratulations, everyone.